talked about, hiring mistakes that you've made. Tell me a little bit about the hiring mistakes you have made and why you think you made those mistakes.
Um, Really, they have been around skill sets, and um,
Mm,
that a couple have been around skill sets in the sense of people who just um, didn't understand litigation, and
yeah.
they were desk lawyers, as we call them, and so they just wanted to push paper, do transactions,
Mhm.
and were great at that.
Mhm.
But what we do and the way we serve our clients, litigation always has to be an option.
Right.
And so we need people who are just like, okay, we'll go to
Who
the
can litigate.
courthouse.
Yeah.
And that's really important. The
Mhm.
other thing, now here's another one now that you ask me. We don't, we will make rare exceptions, but we don't fight the old dog new tricks rule. We don't bring in people
Mm.
who've had their own law firm for a while
Mhm.
because we had one guy in Oklahoma City, and he kept telling me he had had his own law firm for about 10 years,
Yeah.
wanted to close it down.
This isn't the way to do it. Do it
Well,
that way.
yeah, and then he's like, well, at my law firm this is not how we did
Mhm.
things. And I said, yeah, this
Right.
is my,
Go back to your own law
yeah,
firm. Yeah.
I'm the one that has to pay the bills, and you're not getting
Mhm.
your time on the clock, and so we're not even making enough money off of you to pay your salary. And, by the way, dipstick, you just put down 4/10 of an hour for hanging the door chime.
Oy.
And it's like, he's like, well, I wanted to hear the door ring. I said, yeah, don't send me a bill for it. And
That's
by the
right.
way, I was like, get the hell out of here, amigo.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, we had to figure that out. And
Mhm.
so we have hired a couple lawyers who've come out of firms and then wanted to run their own firm briefly. And maybe if they've done it a year and just don't want to do it, because it's a pain in the neck,
Mhm.
building all the systems
Mhm.
and figuring out how to get paid and all that. It's hard work, and it's hard work to manage it. And so um, those have been the real two
Yeah.
um, big hiring sort of areas. We've had some people that we've hired that just didn't work out. Um, had one young lady who was brilliant, man. We loved her, but she just went for, this may sound a little sexist, but she just went boy crazy and got two boyfriends at the same time and just lost her mind. And
Mm.
before that, she was one of the best
Oh,
employees we
interesting.
had ever had.
Mhm.
And, I hope she's doing great because we just loved her. Um, but and you're going to run into that. Things come up in people's lives.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
but we feel like we've gotten better at.
Good.
But one thing I have learned, and really taken to heart, because I do like people so much, and so I want to like them. I have to be really self conscious of look that half of hiring is looking for reasons to say no, particularly for me, and just being
Mm.
very. So anyway, it's
Looking
just
for
important.
reasons to say no to the hire?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because I just my natural prejudice, my natural personality is to want to get along with people, to
Yeah.
want to work with them. And I think that's always important, but I think it's particularly important for me.
Mhm.
And Derek's kind of that way too. So
Mhm.
we um, we pay a lot of attention on looking for reasons, and if, hope that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, I could probably predict why you're doing it that way, but, who cares, right, about what I think. Um, what if anything, I have to imagine there must be something bugs you or, to be a little more southern, chaps your ass about the law in your industry?
Well,
Or Western, I guess that's really more Western.
Western, yeah, that
Having a
is,
chapped ass.
yeah, and we're more Western out here. So,
Yeah, yes,
um,
that's our way.
I have, I, the law business really does attract a lot of jerks. It
Yeah.
does. I mean, I know
Mhm,
that because I went to law school with them, and we were just having lunch, um, and talking about one of our local attorneys who's a pretty unsavory character who was also my law school classmate.
mhm.
And man, I mean, we really deal with some just horrible jerk characters. Ashley's my right hand lawyer, and naturally, she lives in Portland, Oregon, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
um,
In Portlandia.
yeah, but we've got a case going up in the North Country right now,
Mhm,
and we've got a lawyer that is just the biggest moron, and we've taken him to the Supreme Court and back, and he just fights about everything. Ashley
mm.
spent the whole day yesterday just fighting with him over a scheduling order,
Oh my.
and ultimately we got an email from the arbitrator on the case, who's a former justice of the Nebraska Supreme Court, so a
Mhm,
really great judge.
mhm, mhm,
And he's like, I have no idea what's going on here. Confusion reigns.
mm.
You know, and when you get those attorneys, it, it's what makes everything horrible. And,
Yes.
and some of them are just jerks. And, right now I've got a bunch of stuff going on in Texas, and, um, I get pretty fed up with, with these attorneys that just, they'll send me 4-page letters, right? Telling me what a moron I am. And um the case we do for our big client, I've done for 16 years, right?
Right.
You think I haven't heard it before? I've heard it all before.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I
And
get it. Yeah.
yeah, I literally have an email saved in my signature block. So I get one of those 4-page
Yeah.
letters,
Yeah,
and
yep.
I pull out and it says, I read your 4-page letter very briefly. I'm not impressed. Do you want to talk dollars, or can you accept service? And that's it, which is
Mhm.
the legal equivalent of flipping somebody the bird. Um,
I love it.
and yeah, and I get a lot of that. You know, this is showing a little generational prejudice too, of and Okie prejudice. I get a lot of attitude out of Texas millennial lawyers. Imagine that put together.
It's like an oxymoron almost.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they they want to pick fights and
Mm,
make a name for themselves. So I'm kind of like,
mhm.
well, okay, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, well, we live in a, figuratively and literally litigious society, right?
Yeah, a
People
little
just wanna
more than it
argue
needs.
about things, you know?
Yeah, and we try and stay out of it. We'll fight
Yeah.
if we have to, but
Yeah.
it tends not to be the
Mhm.
best. But so there is a certain batch of people, pardon me, that think that that's effective
Mhm.
representation from a lawyer, and it really
Right.
tends not to be.
Carol Schultz here. Thanks for watching this excerpt from Authentically Successful. The conversation doesn't end there. So if you want to hear this episode in full and all my conversations with many other successful founders and CEOs, please visit verticalelevation.com/podcast.